Section 42 of Up One Pair of Stairs of My Bookhouse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Crystal Treader. Up One Pair of Stairs of My Bookhouse. Edited by Olive Beaupre Miller. Doll in the Grass, a Norse folk tale. Once upon a time there was a king who had 12 sons. When they were grown up he told them that they must go out into the world and find themselves wives. These wives, he commanded, must all be able to spin, weave, and make a shirt in a day, else he would not have them for daughters-in-law. He gave each of his sons a horse and a new suit of armor, so they set out into the world to look for brides. When they had travelled a bit on the way, they said that they would not take Ashiepattle, their youngest brother, with them, for he was good for nothing. So they left the poor youth behind. Ashiepattle did not know what he should do, or whither he should turn. He got off his horse, sat down in the grass, and began to weep. When he had sat there a while, lo! one of the tussocks among the grass began to stir and move, and out of it came a small white thing. Ashiepatle's mouth fell open with astonishment. But as the white thing came nearer, he saw it was a charming little lassie. Such a tiny bit of a thing, so very, very tiny. She came up to him and asked him if he would go below with her and pay a visit to the doll in the grass. Yes, he would, and so he did. When he came down below, the doll in the grass was sitting in a chair, dressed very finely and looking very beautiful. She asked Ashiepattle whither he was going and what was his errand. He told her that he was one of 12 brothers, and that the king had given them each a horse and a suit of armor, bidding them go out into the world and find themselves wives. But, said he, each wife must be able to spin, weave, and make a shirt in a day. If you can do that and will become my wife, I will not go a step further. So the doll in the grass set to work at once to get the shirt spun, woven, and made. But when it was done, it was so tiny, no bigger than so. Ashiepattle took it and returned home. When he brought it out to show his father, he felt very shy because it was so small. But for all that, it was perfectly made, so the king said he would have the lady who had made it for his daughter-in-law. You can imagine how happy and joyful Ashiepattle was then. The road did not seem long to him as he set out to fetch his little bride. When he came to the doll in the grass, he wanted to take her up before him on his horse. But no, that she wouldn't. She said she would sit and drive in a silver spoon, and she had 2 small white horses which would draw her. So they set out, he on his horse and she in the silver spoon, and the horses which drew her were 2 small white mice. Ashiepattle always kept to one side of the road, so that he would not ride over her. She was so tiny. When they had travelled a bit on the way they came to a large pond. There Ashiepatle's horse shied and upset the spoon, so that the doll in the grass tumbled into the water. Ashiepattle was most sorrowful, for he did not know how he could get her out again. But after a while up came a merman with her, and now she had become just as big as any other grown-up person, and far lovelier than before. So Ashiepattle placed her before him on his horse and rode home. When he got there all his brothers had also returned, each with a bride. But though they had thought themselves so much better than Ashiepattle and left him behind, they had all chosen brides who were ugly, ill-favoured, and bad-tempered. On their heads these young misses had hats which were painted with tar and soot, and this had run down their faces, making them still uglier to behold. The King was so overjoyed with Ashiepattle and his bride that he sent the others about their business, and said Ashiepattle should be king after him. So Ashiepattle and Doll i' the Grass held their wedding feast, and they lived long and happily together. End of section 42. Recording by Crystal Treader.